Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to another Fabric Power BI Portugal meetup. My name is Pedro Reis and I'm your host together with Miguel Félix. And today we have a special guest, James Hutton. It's a meetup that we improvised a little bit because it was a very recent announcement, and I think it was a fantastic opportunity to have someone like James to share about this topic that it's available for you guys to start exploring. So welcome, James.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miguel, do you want to say a greeting also? You were the person who impulsionated also the meetup about this idea, and maybe introduce James to the community.
Yeah, thank you, James, first of all, for joining us. Thank everyone that is joining and for once again having to be on this meetup. So James Hutton is a senior product manager at Microsoft. Is currently within the team that is helping us to have Data Activator. So he will explain a little bit better what his role in Microsoft and what is his role in the team of Data Activator. But the Data Activator was presented while I was at NPPC, so in the beginning of October. I saw some quick demos done by Will. He was not able to show everything because some of the issues, but it was very exciting to see the potential. So we got in touch with James so that we could have this meetup. But let's see what James has to tell us, and you can judge for yourself about the potential of this new tool and what can do for all of us in the data analytics world. Okay. Thank you, James, once again.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, everyone. Yes, just to introduce myself very briefly, I'm a PM on the team that's building this new Fabric experience called Data Activator, which is the topic of the session tonight. Some of you might know Will Thompson, so he's my boss, and you might be interested to know that Data Activator is built by a team that's largely based in London. Microsoft has an office in Paddington in London, and that's where a lot of the engineering for this product is done, which is how I find myself, because I live in London, as you may know. It's how I find myself a PM on the team. We have a team at Microsoft, which is, it's about 50% in London, 50% based in Seattle, and Will's in charge of the Seattle team. Without further ado, let me just bring up my slide deck, and I'll launch into this session.
All right, looking forward, James.
Okay, if I can remember how to start this presentation. Here we go. Okay, great. So I assume you can all see my slides.
Yep.
Great. So what I'll do is I'll spend about approximately 10 minutes going through these slides, just explaining what Data Activator is all about and why we've built it. I will give you a demo, which will probably also take about 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. So let me launch into this. So I hope you have all had a chance to play with Fabric by now. You would all be aware, if you have, that Fabric consists of a series of these very tightly integrated experiences, as we call them, all built on top of one lake. Data Activator is a new experience that we have just put into public preview. Assuming you've all signed up for the Fabric trial, you should all now be seeing Data Activator in your Fabric tenants. It went into public preview on October the 5th, so it should have been in there as of October the 5th. And so what Data Activator is all about is driving actions from your data, okay? And very specifically, it's about cases where you want to monitor a bunch of business objects to look for anomalies or other conditions being true in those objects. You want to detect some condition, as I said, which is true about those business objects, and then you want to act automatically when those conditions are true. And this covers a very wide range of business scenarios. Let me give you a few examples. Let's imagine you work in the finance department. You are interested in monitoring all the invoices that you've issued to your customers. You want to detect if any of those invoices are overdue, or maybe if they're soon to be due. And what you'd like to do is to get your account managers to phone up the customers in question and ask them if they wouldn't mind paying their invoices. Let's picture a manufacturing company that uses third-party shippers to ship goods from their factory to their customers. What they want to do is to monitor all of those shipments and check if any of them are delayed or likely to be delayed, and if so, proactively phone up their customer and warn them that the shipment's going to be late. Let's imagine a construction company that rents out construction equipment to their customers, and they have IoT sensors in the equipment, in the trucks, to detect if there's low tire pressure. And obviously they want to inflate the tires if any of those tires show low tire pressure. Now, these are all real examples that we've had during the preview process for Data Activator. You'll notice that they cover a pretty wide range of scenarios, from relatively slow-moving financial data that might only change once a week, maybe even once a month, to very fast-moving real-time data in terms of IoT data coming in from large numbers of vehicles. And the intent is that Data Activator will work with all of those types of use case. The question is, how do organizations typically drive actions in this type of scenario today? And the answer is usually they do it manually. Okay, so very often what happens is you've got a central data team within the organization who is tasked with developing reports and dashboards for monitoring this data. And what they do is they push those reports out to the rest of the business, and then they ask the relevant people in the business continually to monitor those reports and look for those conditions occurring. The challenge, particularly if you're a consumer of these reports, is that the number of reports tends to multiply over time. And as a result, you might be too busy to check the reports, or you might even forget that the reports are there, or you might even not know that the reports exist. And so the end result is that with all this manual monitoring, things slip through the cracks and the things don't end up getting monitored. To solve that, ideally, we'd like to automate it. We'd like to move from this manual monitoring with all the problems that I've just described to some kind of automated monitoring solution. The challenge has been that typically this has required writing code. Okay, you end up having to write some code, perhaps to monitor a SQL database, perhaps to continually query a SQL database for the conditions that you're looking for, and then perhaps automatically send out emails if those conditions are true. The challenge with writing code is, of course, it's brittle. If requirements change, you have to go and change your code. You have to employ a development team to write that code. And for all of these reasons, it ends up just being too costly for organizations to pursue this. And so when we did the research for Data Activator, we asked people, where do you sit? Are you doing this manual monitoring, or have you written code to automate it? And essentially everybody is still sitting in this manual camp. So we need to get past this problem with coded solutions, and we need to find a way to move towards a no code monitoring. Okay, and this is what we're trying to do with Data Activator, is to have automated actions in a way that that doesn't require code. And the way we think this needs to happen is we think that there's a need in the market for what we call a system of detection. Okay, so if you think about all of your data that's sitting in data warehouses and data lakes and Power BI data sets, we can call all of those systems of intelligence. Think about the system where you then act on that intelligence, which is typically by sending emails or Teams, but it could also be logging tickets in ticketing systems. We can call all of those systems of action. What we think is needed is something which sits in between the two, a system of detection which can automatically find the patterns that you need to act on within your systems of intelligence, and then use that detection to drive actions in your systems of action. Okay, and so that's what Data Activator is. It's a system of detection, and it's targeted at what we call the business analyst. And so what we mean by a business analyst is somebody who is embedded within the business, who knows all of the rules that need to be implemented within that business, but who is a non-technical person. They don't know how to write code. They are numerate. So today, the business analyst might well be involved in building reports and spreadsheets for the rest of the business to consume. So they're very comfortable with a pivot table. They're very comfortable dragging and dropping to make a Power BI report. They're not necessarily comfortable writing code. And so that's our target user. And so this is the Data Activator vision. The idea is, in time, we want Data Activator to be able to trigger actions on any data within Microsoft Fabric. As of today, it works off data that's stored in Power BI datasets, and it works off streaming data coming in from event streams. And the idea is it then lets the business analyst define rules and triggers in a no-code way on that data that ultimately drive actions in the action systems. Data Activator today has native integration with email and Teams, and it also can trigger flows in Power Automate when it detects relevant conditions. In time, we'll also build this out to include webhooks, for example, so that you can directly integrate with other systems in your business. Okay, now I'm going to give you a demo. Before I launch into the demo, actually, I might just pause and just see if anyone's got any questions at this point.
Yeah, for any question, you can just write in the chat and I'll bring it to James, or just raise the hand and I'll call you out to ask the question.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Pedro, I'll wait for you to tap me on the shoulder, as it were, virtually, and I'll continue on. So what I'm going to show you today is a demo that is based on real data. Those of you who've been to London might have seen these bicycles. There are about 800 of these bicycle rental stations dotted throughout London. Colloquially in London, we call them Boris bikes. There is an API that you can connect to that is operated by TfL, which is the company that operates these docking stations, and it will tell you in real time how many bicycles are available in every one of these docking stations, and also how many free slots are available. Okay, so what we're going to be doing in this demo is connecting to that API. We're going to be building some alerts based on the number of bikes that are available in every one of these docking stations. Now I'm just going to flip my screen across to Data Activator, which might take a minute or two. So this is a great time to pose any questions while I make the switch over, if you've got any.
We still don't have any questions in the chat. I'm sure after the demo, we have a question. Yep. Kilaro, go ahead. You can put the question.
Yeah, thanks. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Perfect. Thanks. So yeah, at the moment, I just tested out the Git integration with Azure DevOps, and it works well. And I have seen in the corner left side that we have a data aggregator, and there's the new features which you are showing us right now, which in fact is very good. I haven't seen you're the first to show up, and very thanks to you, and it's a very good job. But at the same time, what we are trying to do is we are building an Azure data lake on other side, where everything was on premise. We are moving into cloud. And how different is this data aggregated? And there's a data engineering and data science in same app.powerbi.com to the ones what we're going to build it in Azure, like our data engineering, keeping everything pipelines, running ADF pipelines and everything. How different that would be to the one? I mean, I don't know. I'm coming at the end of the session and I'm asking you the questions. Maybe I'm not sure it's the right time to ask it, but I just, because sometimes I forget the questions. So I understood. I hope you understood my intention of question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And by the way, I hope the answer to that question will be a bit clearer once you've seen the demo as well. So you'll get a much better sense of it, I think, once I've shown you the demo. But to answer your question as best I can, the key about Data Activator is that it's a no-code experience, right? So the idea is that you can define rules about actions that you need to take in your business, which are about patterns in data. And you'll see what I mean about patterns in data when I do the demo. The idea is that a non-technical person can, with a visual point and click interface, say, hey, these are the patterns in data that are relevant to my business, that define actions that I need to take in my business. And then they can automatically detect those patterns and then use them to drive email and Teams alerts, and then also trigger automatic actions in Power Automate. So I think the key difference is the target audience here, which, as I say, is the non-technical business analyst, number one. And I think the other key difference is that the idea is that Data Activator is one place in Fabric that will operate on any type of data that you have in Fabric. So as I say, as of today, it can work on real-time streaming data in event streams. It can work on data in Power BI data sets. And the goal is we're going to build it out to include all the other types of data you get in Fabric as well. So there's just one place in Fabric where you can define these patterns that you need to detect and the alerts that you need to drive off them. So I hope that goes some way to answering the question. I also hope that once you've seen it in action, it'll be a bit clearer what I'm talking about.
Thank you, James. Thanks.
All right, so let me just start by bringing up my my data. So I'm not in Data Activator yet. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to play with event streams. If you're not familiar with event streams, this is one of the artifacts that you can create in Fabric. And what I've done here is I've connected this event streams to my bicycle docking station API. And you can see here that these are the events that are flowing through from the API. What I get is an event. It's generating about 2 events a second. And every one of these events is telling me for a given docking station in this location, this is how many bikes are currently available in the docking station. This is how many empty slots there are free in the docking station. And this is the time at which the event occurred. And so as the number of bicycles changes in every one of these docking stations, I get an event flowing through. And so what I'm interested in doing now is defining some rules on this data. So what I can do within this event stream is I can connect it to Data Activator. So what I do is I just define this destination here. I've set it up in advance, as you can see. And I say my destination is going to be a Data Activator reflex. So now let me flip across to Data Activator, and we can see this data flowing into Data Activator. Just bear with me while I bring up the event stream in Data Activator. So if we just bear with it for a second, we should start to see these events flowing into Data Activator. It can take a second or two sometimes, so just bear with me. I'm sure it's going to get there any second now. Yay, there we go. Okay. So this is the same data that we saw flowing in from the API, and you can see every time an event flows in here, it's getting highlighted here in the interface with some statistics about the number of events flowing in per hour. Now what I want to do is to get an alert per docking station if there are fewer than X number of bikes. Okay, so what I need to do to achieve this within Data Activator is to create what we call an object. So to do that, I need to identify the primary key in my events, and that's this thing here is my bike point ID is the primary key. So I create an object in Data Activator off that primary key, and I call it docking station because that's the ID for my docking station. I'm not going to hit the create button because I did that just prior to this demo. So let me flip across to the design mode here, and you can get a sense of what this docking station object looks like when I create it. Let me just flip across to my docking station object. You can see what Data Activator has done here is it's expanded the properties in the event stream so that I can see all of the data in the events that are flowing in. If I click on the number of available bikes, what I get now is this little chart showing me per bike point how many available bikes there are. And what I'd like to do is to create a trigger that is going to warn me if there aren't enough bikes available in the docking station. I have already created one, but let's do one from scratch just so you can see what the process is. I click new trigger, and I'm just going to call this not enough bikes in docking station. And what I want to do is build my alert off the number of available bikes. I'm going to select that as my property. I get that nice chart again showing me the number of available bikes per docking station. And now it's asking me for a condition to detect on this data. And I've got a number of conditions to choose from. What I want to get alerted is I just want to have a nice simple threshold alert. I want to get alerted if the number of bicycles for any docking station becomes less than 5. So let me choose 5 as my threshold, and you can see now what this is telling me is how often in the past this alert would have occurred. So you can see I've got some activations occurring here earlier in the day. So it's telling me, hey, this alert is going to be generating, approximately, as you can see, 1 alert every 5 minutes or thereabouts. Now, I said at the start that Data Activator is all about detecting patterns in your data. So let me start to give you a sense of how that works. Initially, I've just said, hey, I want to get alerted each time the number of bikes becomes less than 5. But what I can do is I can also choose the stays condition. If I change that to stays, what I can say is, hey, I'm only interested in getting alerted if there are fewer than, if the number drops below 5 and it stays below 5 for at least an hour. Or I can choose a number of times, and I can say, hey, only alert me if it drops below 5 2 times in an hourly window, okay? Or I can start to add filters to my data. So I can say, for example, only alert me if it drops below 5 2 times in an hour within a neighborhood that is Belgravia, for example. Now I've chosen a fairly restrictive filter condition, so this is not actually showing any firing events, but you get the idea. I've now defined a fairly complicated pattern on my data, and I can now start to drive actions off that data. So what we have built into Data Activator is the ability to send email and Teams notifications. So let's just create an email alert based off this. I can alert myself, or I can alert other people when this condition becomes true. And let me just add a subject to this email: not enough bikes in docking station. And let's just put an explanatory message. There are fewer than 5 bikes in this docking station, and then I just hit start on my trigger, and I'm done. And what that's now done is it's set up an email alert that's going to fire every time this condition is true. I'll just very quickly flip across to show you what one of these emails looks like, just so you get a sense of it, and you'll be able to see how that works. So you can see this email here. This is an example of the result of this trigger. Okay, so it's hopefully reasonably self-explanatory. As you can see, it's a Microsoft branded email, comes from Microsoft. One of the frequent questions I get is it possible to send an email from within the organization? The answer is yes, it is. You can do that by triggering a Power Automate flow, and I'll come to that later on in the demo. So I'll just pause to see if anyone has any questions on any of that.
And James, even these notifications like you shared, they can be sent. Let's say that someone is like a regional manager of a certain section. These notifications can be targeted to the person who can take the action for the region or for the owner of the assets, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if I just flip back across to the reflex, I can put any recipient in this. So as you say, that could be the manager of the docking stations. Something that isn't quite there yet, but is going to be there in the next couple of weeks, is the ability to have a variable recipient. So what you'll be able to do is, if you happen to have data in your event stream which says which is say the email of the address of the relevant manager of the docking station, then you'll be able to send to a property in your event, and then that will resolve to the correct recipient, and it will vary depending on the docking station that generated the alert, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
One question, James. When you created that number of available bytes based on the ID column, right? The other 3 that you have over here are also based on other columns that you have on the data set, or?
Yeah, exactly. So the 2 key, like, you'll see that obviously I've got some text columns over here. Now, if I select a text column, it's just basically going to show me instances of the text column occurring. So that you don't get terribly interesting results at the moment if you select a text column. But if I choose a numeric column, so for example, number of empty docks, Data Activator is smart enough to figure out that, hey, this is a numeric column, and I want to be able to see that broken down per docking station ID, because I've indicated earlier to Data Activator that that was the primary key for my event. So that's basically the concept.
Okay, so you are utilizing those text columns to categorize the data points, right? Basically, is that it?
Exactly right. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I want to flip across now to show you our Power BI integration. So if I pop back to my workspace, I've built a Power BI report, which is built off exactly the same data that you saw coming in from the event stream. And so what I've now got is this Power BI report that lets me select a neighborhood in London, and then I can see availability over time for any of the docking stations in London. And I've also got this this neighborhood view. This is defining some aggregate measures on the neighborhood. So I can pick a neighborhood, and what I get is average occupancy over time for all bicycles in this docking station. So now what I'm starting to do is to build up some high-level aggregates off this data. And perhaps now that I've done that, I would like to trigger some alerts off of this more high-level stuff. So what I can now do is select my visual in Power BI. I can choose this trigger action menu item, which is now available on the most common types of Power BI visuals. And I can create a Data Activator alert based on the contents of my measure. So in this case, my visual is showing me the occupancy history measure. So that's already been selected for me. The only thing I have to tell Data Activator is how often should it check the data. I can set that to as often as 5 minutes or hourly. We can set that to hourly. And let's say I want my alert to tell me if that drops to less than 60%. So what I can then do is then just add that to my Data Activator item. So I'm just going to choose continue to add that to my existing Data Activator item. And when I hit continue, what that does is it goes ahead and adds it to my Data Activator item. Again, I've already gone ahead and done that prior to the demo, so you'll get a sense of how that looks. I think in this case I set the threshold to 20%, but it's otherwise the same. You can see what I now get if I just kill that is my occupancy measure that I had in Power BI. Again, I can see that over time per street, and once again I can define an email action that will get sent if that threshold gets exceeded or beneath. And as with the previous example, I can choose any of these conditions here to make the alert more complex than just a simple threshold alert. Something else we've done, by the way, is to implement Teams alerts. So as well as sending an email, I can send a Teams message. If I do send a Teams message, then the way that'll work is it'll get sent to the Data Activator Teams app that we've built. The recipient will need to have the Data Activator Teams app installed in order to receive the Teams message. But the good news is it auto-installs. So unless your Teams admin has, for some reason, blocked installation of the Teams app, what will happen is this will automatically install the Data Activator Teams app for your recipient, and then they'll get the alert message within Teams as well. Any questions on that before I show you the last bit?
No, it seems that everyone is okay. I think you can continue.
Very good. All right. So the last thing I want to show you, yes, I've already got this set up in the thing. I just want to show you our integration with Power Automate. So the Power Automate piece is very useful if you want to send alerts through other alerting systems, for example. So perhaps your organization has standardized on Slack instead of Teams. You'd like to send a Slack message, or perhaps you wish to connect directly to a ticketing system, for example, through a connector that exists in Power Automate. So instead of defining a simple Teams or email message, what you can choose to do when a trigger fires is you can trigger a Power Automate flow. And the way we've built this is through this notion of what we call custom actions. And so the idea here is that what you do is you just define a generic Power Automate flow that, for example, sends a Slack message or logs a ticket in a ticketing system, and you only need to define that flow once. So you get the Power Automate expert in your organization to define that flow once, and then they set up this custom action, which is like a reusable template. And then after that, it can be used by anybody within the organization. So you only need that Power Automate expertise once, and then after that, anybody in your organization can trigger that flow. So the way I'll just give you a sense of how it works. The usual example I give is that I say I want to make a to-do list item, and for a to-do list item, the input fields that I want to pass from Data Activator to my to-do list item, it's very simple. It's just the title of the to-do list item. And you can see here what it's done is it's given me a connection string, which will connect Data Activator to Power Automate. So I copy that connection string, and then I create my flow in Power Automate. Now, what this is now going to do is set up a flow within Power Automate. And what I want my flow to do is to create a to-do list item. So let's just set that up as soon as Power Automate comes back to me. So the first thing it's done is put in this step, which is going to fire when Power Automate, when the trigger starts, and it's prompting me to paste that connection string that I got earlier into the first step of my Power Automate flow. Now, my new step that I want to create here, I just want to have one step which will make a to-do list item. So let's just find the to-do list connector, and I want to add a to-do list item. And I want, it's prompting me for a to-do list to add this to. I made a to-do list in my personal to-dos called Data Activator to-dos, so I'm going to just choose that, and then I'm going to have my title. In this case, I just want my title to be the instance of the docking station that has had too few bikes. So I'm just going to choose this object instance ID, which is going to be my bike point ID, and then I'll just say bike point object instance ID has too few bikes. Okay, and then after I hit save, that flow now becomes available within my Reflex item. So what I can now do within Reflex is select this custom action, make to-do list item, and this is now available within any one of my Data Activator triggers. I can then pass my to-do list title in as the parameter to this action, and create a to-do list item. So I'll just show you once again what the end result of that is within Microsoft To Do, and you'll get a sense of it. So if I just share here my to-do list, you can see it's created a to-do list item for one of my bike points earlier. If this particular bike point doesn't have enough bikes, I can mark that as done. So that is basically the concept for Power Automate. And obviously you can make use of any one of the 200 plus connectors that Power Automate has to connect this to your system of choice. Any questions on that?
I'm not sure, I don't see any questions yet, but wow, that is fantastic to know that even the data activators are already available in Power Automate, another product that personally I also love. It's really good to see all the different items that you can get from the data activator already there available.
Awesome. Well, I'll finish up a little bit. I'll just talk in vague terms about the roadmap. We are, as I mentioned earlier, currently in public preview. So we've only just gone to public preview. We are expecting to be in general availability first quarter of next calendar year, approximately. Obviously, the exact date of availability will depend on the feedback we get during the preview process, and it will depend on readiness of the product, but that's our target. Beyond that, as I mentioned, the goal with Data Activator is to let you create Data Activator alerts off any of your Fabric data. So the sorts of things you can expect to see in our roadmap are we're going to connect to more and more data sets, data sources beyond the existing two that I showed you today. You can also expect us to offer more custom connectivity, for example, through webhooks and so on, so that you can start to connect Data Activator to your line of business applications. Something else that we're looking to target Activator increasingly towards is more and more real-time use cases. We do think that there's going to be a big application for Data Activator in terms of getting data from IoT triggers and so on, and generating those real-time alerts. So you can expect to see a lot more from us in terms of that type of real-time use case, really tightly integrating Data Activator with real-time charting, and also for those of you who are familiar with Azure Data Explorer, some tighter integration with Data Explorer to drive some of those real-time use cases. We're currently in a planning mode with Data Activator, so as all of that shakes out over the next couple of weeks, we'll have some firmer announcements to make on exactly what the roadmap's going to look like. But in the meantime, I'm hoping that you're all going to have a play with it and try it out. I hope that you'll come off this call and go and try and trigger a Power Automate alert off one of your visuals. As I said, it supports the majority of visuals. So if you've got a Power BI report available today in Fabric, just right-click trigger action, and you can go ahead and create a Data Activator alert. So please do that. I would be very, very interested, if I may ask a question of the audience, in whether you guys have seen something tonight that you think you might use Data Activator for yourself. If you've thought of a use case for Data Activator in the course of my presentation, I'd really love to hear about it. So I'll leave that question with the audience, and then I'll also take any other questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, James. I can start. I'm currently working on a project. It's for finance, where they want to follow up on certain campaigns that they have. So I totally see that they can use this to highlight certain specific stores that are not fulfilling their goal, or that are overachieving also. So either way, so I think this is a great add-on, not only to the Fabric, but also in terms specifically to Power BI, especially, and correct me if I'm wrong, and everyone in the audience, because we had sort of some alerts within dashboards, but they didn't work very well. So what I saw lots of people doing was what he said in the beginning, doing manual things. So I think this will bring to where people actually work the option to add some alerts, and that they can be actionable at the certain point in time, not as they are very limited in dashboards. I have to be honest, I only used it once, and it was just to see what it does, and it didn't did anything for me. So I think this new feature is very awesome. But this is on me. But we have a question from Hilaru, so please go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Miguel, and thanks, James. So yeah, I think so. I like the trigger one. I haven't explored it. I haven't seen it, but I think I'll explore it tomorrow morning, as it's a night now. So what I have seen, usually I used to write stored procedures to trigger it. We have a couple of ESG reports which I've developed for the carbon footprint whenever it goes down, and even for the few of the assets which were assets values goes down. So I've triggered it to use stored procedures. But I think when I do it in dashboard, I think I'll let users do it so that they also know it, and they know they can start building their own triggers. That is very useful. Second thing is I have always have a confusion here. Does the workspace need to be premium or users? Because across my firm, everyone is pro. Due to the 365 license, we managed to get it. But I think I have always confusion. I don't know, I never get this. So the workspace has to be premium or the user has to be premium to access this latest feature. Because when I tried to develop this POC for the Git integration, Azure DevOps integration with Power BI, I had to create a trial version workspaces. So I made 3 workspaces, that is for the dev, UAT, and prod. So to deploy those pipelines, whichever I made those the changes. So that actually I like that one. I accidentally made it, but somehow I made it work, and it is very seamlessly, very nice. So in Power BI, we never had revert back changes. So with this help, I can revert back any of the changes which I've done. But I just want to make sure that can you tell me, does the workspace has to be premium or a user has to go to premium?
The workspace has to be premium. Yeah. So if I just flip back to that docking station report, for example, you'll see that when I clicked trigger action, it was prompting me for a place to save my reflex item. So you have to save this reflex item in a premium workspace. So that could be your personal workspace, by the way, if you happen to have given your personal workspace a premium capacity or fabric capacity. But yes, that's the rule. It's the workspace this workspace here must be a premium one.
But when we go into the settings one of the trial, where we have like one is pro, another is premium, another is premium embedded, another is fabric. I think we have a couple of options. I don't know which one is to select such that we have all the features.
Fabric is your best bet. If you assign it to a fabric capacity, then you'll get all of the features in fabric, and you can sign up for a fabric trial. And unless your admin has explicitly disabled trials, then anybody in your organization should be able to assign a trial capacity to any well, certainly to your personal workspace and any workspace that you own.
I see. So the workspace has to be in fabric. So I tried with the premium as a trial to work out with the deployment pipelines. That worked. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Killer, because everything that the artifacts that you see in a Fabric, not in Power BI, need to be in a Fabric capacity. So it's the same principle for all of them regarding the workspace. And James, taking on the question of Kilaro, first of all, to share the feedback like Miguel shared, and also Kilaro, I've seen people, data engineers, assembling all sorts of different analytics processes to track certain thresholds, like with the stored procedures or other types. So I think this is really helpful, one of the points. With the dashboards, guilty as charged, I've seen a lot of people creating KPIs, changing the context, pinning those KPIs and triggering then alerts based on the different thresholds for the same KPI for different people. And even using scoreboards, well, not with automatic, but the scoreboards with the different ranges that trigger alerts and comments, etc. So I think, first of all, this brings a great functionality that is extended. My question is, regarding I assume that is still going to be studied. What is going to be actually the charges, the cost that this will take, or the consumption from the fabric capacity that is relevant to the entire workspace? Because this is a real-time analytics calculation. Does it take a lot of charges? How will it work with the other existing processes?
We're still working on the pricing, so we haven't finalized it yet. Obviously, while it's in preview, there's no charge. The billing will kick in once we go to GA. I can give you a sense of where we're going with it, which is that it's going to be based on the number of events that are flowing into the system and the number of times we have to evaluate conditions on those events. So if you think about a Power BI report, earlier on, I showed you how to set up an hourly alert from a Power BI report. So that's going to generate one event per hour for that trigger flowing into the report. And then we'll be evaluating a condition on that event every time it comes in. And so it's that evaluation that will trigger a charge, and then essentially there'll be a fee every time that gets evaluated. So that's where we're going with it. What I just said might change because, as I said, it's still undergoing review. But that's the basic model that we're currently moving towards, and then the exact numbers obviously we'll publish in due course.
Okay, sounds good.
One question from me last. This will be last question. So I've seen the dashboards. I mean, it's out of the my topic. My question is out of the one which you have shown us right now. But is that have you visited the website called the Reis, who develops custom maps in R? I think.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay, that guy. I mean, he develops custom country maps using R, and he has very nice visuals which he has developed. I tried to do that one, but I think why I'm asking is my users have come to a level that they look something fascinating. They want to bring that in Power BI. So it's not like general the Bing map what we have or anything. They got used to it and they want to have something fascinating. So recently I started using a GIF. And Power BI can take GIF as well. So I started using GIF every month. If there is something new, I upload the GIF and I publish the Power BI. But right now they need something more like the Reis. I mean, you can hit it reistrader.com. The guy has done seriously nice. So what I request is Power BI can give flexibility for developers to create their own visuals. That would be really nice if that feature can help developers so that they can create something, a customized one, and upload it in Microsoft and they get approved. I see most of them are not getting approved, the visuals. So, but if that could be, that would be really helpful. Just a food for thought.
Have you by any chance logged that in our Power BI ideas forum?
I tried it, I think, but I didn't submit it. I'll submit it.
Please do, because I assure you, every one of those ideas gets read. Okay. And the Power BI team takes a great deal of pride in the fact that we have a very good track record of implementing users' ideas. So if you log it, it will be taken seriously, and obviously it gets voted on in that forum. But you can be rest assured if it gets some votes, it's going to get some attention, and we do implement a very large proportion of those ideas. So please do.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, on that part, I can assure you that's true because I've been in the community since day one almost, and I've seen a lot of improvements done in Power BI. And the latest one, I think everyone will say that is a little bit late, but better late than never, is the dark mode that is coming to Power BI desktop, right? It was the big announcement on MPPC. So they announced Data Activator, visual calculations, but when they announced the dark mode, everyone was, okay, this is what we want. We don't want anything else. That was nice. But going back, just a question regarding the triggers on the visuals. Can any user do those triggers, or do they need to have a special role within the workspace? So they need to be admin or collaborators, or anyone can do it? How does that work?
You need to have permission to save items to the workspace. Yes. So yeah,
collaborate.
Yeah,
in that case.
Collaborator. Yeah. That's exactly right. And there's a point here which might not have been obvious, so I just want to emphasize it, which is that we envisage this feature being used by both report creators and report consumers, right? So the idea is individual report consumers can just create a personal alert for themselves, but somebody who's creating reports can also use this feature to generate alerts which go out with the report and are implemented as part of the rollout for the report. So that's the vision. I think I touched earlier on the fact that we are still working on the variable alerts, variable recipients feature. So I think once we've got that going, it'll be much more useful for report creators. So that'll be coming out in due course, and that'll make it super useful for report creators as well.
James, a question on my side is related. When you did one of the demos starting from the data activator side, you had to decide what was the bike station. So basically what was the column that for which you would map the tracking of the alerts and the conditions and the figures. But when we start from the report side and we start directly from a chart, do the measure and especially the attributes that are in the dimension are already treated in the same way? Or do you need to specify anything beforehand on the data activator side so that it can be detected as an axis for the data activator side?
Yeah, great question. So let me pick this visual here, which is docking station availability per street. And you can see here that it's asking me now for each dimension. So in this case, what I want to do is to do it for each street. And that is the equivalent to what I showed you when I was creating it directly off the event stream. I'm now saying that the primary key, in effect, for my alert is this street. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a separate alert for every street based on this occupancy measure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you need someone in the data activator side to map each of the possibilities on the for each. So each of the columns that are going to be used for this part.
So what this is doing under the hood is it's just looking at the dimensions that are in the visual. This visual here has a street legend, and so that's where it's picking up the street from. It's only going to show you dimensions that could potentially be a primary key.
Okay. Okay, so technically it's possible to do everything from the Power BI side without going to the data activator side, right?
Yes, except to start the trigger. So
yeah.
So when you hit continue here, what that will do is it will set up the trigger in its entirety, except it won't start it. So you then go into data activator, you hit that start button after having reviewed it, and that will do it. But everything else will happen for you.
Okay, great. So Tiago also shared in the chat his opinion on the dark mode.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just bringing that up.
So if we don't have any more questions, Miguel, maybe what we can do is share, first of all, thanks to James, right? And also announce the next meetup that we're going to have in the community. So while I bring up the poster, maybe we can thank James.
Yes. Thank you, James, especially for being so short notice, and you were available to do it today. So this was nice, especially on a new feature that probably our request is not the first one for you to present on a user group. So that was also nice. I saw popping up all over the place people about not only this data activator, but also on the visual calculations that is also coming from the DAX team. So, thank you once again for your availability and for all the demos and answering our questions. And hope to see this come to general availability as soon as possible, because I can see a lot of people using it with the strong possibility to have action over the data that we already have without the need to go back to Power BI every single minute or having to have that manual work. So thank you.
And not only that, Miguel, not only that, but even making people think exactly after someone takes a look at an indicator, what is the process that they follow next. So this is something that can really help on that. So looking forward to see that. Thanks a lot, James.
My pleasure. Great to meet you all. And I'm just going to paste one quick link in the chat, which is the community forums for the data activator. I think I've got the right. Yeah, this is the right link. So by all means, try it out. And if you have any questions, need any help, just post your question to that forum. I lurk there. Will lurks there. So we'll do our best to answer any questions that you might have as you try to use it. Thanks very much, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, James. So next meetup on DAX, right, Miguel? You will be hosting that one?
Yes. This will be presented by Marcus. So we will talk about five things we need to know when learning DAX. So we know that is or we love it or we hate it, right? There is no middle ground. Everyone thinks it's difficult to learn. So, but let's see what things Marcus has to show us so that we can have a better understanding of that.
All right. So we see you all on the 24th on the next meetup. Thanks everyone and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you, James. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.